You're watching Real Simple News on Friday, June 19th, 2020. I am your host, Cale McCullough, and today's top news story, colored triangles have now been banned from Facebook in opposition to Trump ads, and a cyber attack from China, which we've been talking about on this show because I used an AI algorithm to find a China tampering on Wikipedia, and they banned me, and I was able to actually figure out exactly what they did from looking at their contributions to Wikipedia. And so top story here. Oops. Apologize about that. Top story here from the dailymail.co.uk. It was China, massive cyber attack on Australia's government, businesses, and schools has a hallmark attack of a Beijing-sponsored attack. China is the prime suspect of a huge cyber attack targeting Australian universities, hospitals, industries, governments, Daily Mail in Australia understands. Prime Minister Scott Morrison today said a sophisticated state-based actor was behind ongoing attacks which have been happening for many months but have increased in recent years. He did not name any suspects, but senior sources have told Daily Mail Australia that government agencies believe China was behind it. And they also attacked the United States. So in this next article here from Newsweek, entitled, this is from the 6th of June. It's entitled, Secretary of State Pompeo accuses China of exploiting George Floyd's death, says this laughable propaganda should not fool anyone. Sadly, hood Democrats, the low-income Democrats who live in the big cities, they call them hood Democrats because the Democrats started the KKK and they wore hoods, and people up in the hood are actually much more violent than the KKK ever was. In fact, actually, if you look at the amount of people that black people kill per year in America, it's about equal to the amount of people that white people kill, only there's 6 times more of us. So that's a 6-to-1 kill ratio. And if you look at the number of people that the number of white people that black people kill, it's twice that of vice versa. And so that's actually a 12-to-1 kill ratio. So somehow these hood Democrats and these white feminists are up rioting and looting up in the city because they're pissed off that the white man won't get them a job and that they're gangbanging, doing drugs and robbing, murdering, and torturing people, and then the police need to get involved. And what they're not telling you is that most major cities are actually run by Democrats. So these Black Lives Matter protesters who lividly hate Donald Trump, they live in Democrat-controlled cities, and the cops are shooting them based on local laws. So one would think that all of this Black Lives Matter propaganda wouldn't fool anyone, but sadly, hood Democrats are very uneducated, and white feminists are really only concerned with themselves and bettering themselves off. And that's why they call them white feminists. If you look it up on Wikipedia, white feminism is where women advocate for issues that only happen to white women, and they do it over the issues of the black community, especially black men. And so there's also the white women sympathy tiers, which if you look them up, it's when a white woman will break down if she's got like a black manager, a woman manager, and they do it to men all the time too, but they did when they got called out by the black women because they're like, what the hell are you doing, woman? Like they'll break down crying, like if their boss brings up something, and they'll literally break down crying. It's called white women sympathy tiers, right? So these are the kind of guys that they're feeding propaganda to. And I've been covering this on the show. If you want to know more about it, I'm not going to cover it in too much detail because I've already covered it a whole bunch of times recently. But the China cyber attack is what they've been doing is Facebook has been implanting what are called reflex agents in your mind using manipulative psychological practices. I made another video yesterday about how I helped start the 2016 Portland anti-Trump protest, and before I joined the Walk Away campaign, and I in detail go over how this propaganda is going out. So I'm just going to summarize it very briefly. Facebook has been trying to piss you off, make you depressed, and isolate you so that it maximizes the amount of ad money that they can get. And they are trying to make it so that Facebook is your friend network so that they can have a monopoly on it, because they are quite frankly evil, and they have a whole bunch of people working there on H-1B visas. And okay, I used to work as a minority outreach advisor for Portland State University's engineering school. Okay, my job was to hire minorities to replace the white guys because no, they're saying, oh, we're just hiring minorities, right? No, what they're not telling you behind the scenes, and what they told me, was that we were only looking for women, Latinos, and Asians because the black kids' grades weren't good enough. And I didn't really think about it at the time. I just knew their grades weren't that good. And I didn't really know at the time what's going on is they were actually targeting their customers. So they're saying, oh, we're recruiting minorities. No, they're finding customers, dude. So what people don't understand is that women actually control over 2/3 of the wealth in the United States. And what's been going on, they've been giving us targeted ads. So they've been telling the women that they're oppressed and that they're underpaid and that they need to ask their boss for a raise. But in reality, women actually control 60% of the wealth in the United States. Yeah, you heard that right. Hold on, you're supposed to say 2/3 because this number is going up. And then by the time everybody knows the information, it's going to be 2/3. So you're supposed to say 2/3 because of the temporal nature of it. So they also control 85% of consumer spending. 85%. They buy 92% of vacations. They buy 91% of new homes, 65% of cars, 85% of healthcare, 93% of pharmaceuticals, 93% of food. Thank you. You are a goddess for that. Although I hate the word goddess. You're not going to call me a god. I'm not going to call you a goddess. Thank you, woman. You're awesome for that. But the rest of this shit, okay, women are holding 2/3 of the college degrees coming. These numbers come from Walmart, by the way. So they're holding 2/3 of the college degrees. And the reason for that is because they're young and hot and everybody wants to study with them. And they're getting really good grades and they're doing everything right. I'm not knocking women for doing everything right. Sadly, the white guys aren't doing so good. And the reason for that is that people don't want to study with them, and then they're too stubborn to ask for help. You know how guys are, right? I'm an engineer. I've been through this stuff recently. I know all about being too stubborn to ask for help. And not having any women to study with. Like, I know all about it, dude. I'm like an expert in that. So they've been sending these targeted ads to the women on Facebook because they're trying. What they're trying to do is they're trying to feed the different sides. Like this, going back to how the Chinese are influencing here. The Chinese are trying to use what is called dialectic materialism, which is a concept that comes from Marxism, where there's like an eternal class struggle where like the bottom class has to rise up and then take over. And if they can't do that, then it's called fascism. So the China's trying to cover this up for their people. That's why they have their own version of Wikipedia to cover up all the atrocities that they've done. And so they're telling the women that they're underpaid and that they need to ask their boss for more of a raise. So Facebook is targeting them because they control 85% of consumer spending. So vast majority of the ads goes to women. Okay, and then the next demographic, what you have to know why the Democrats are so just a horrible skis-ball party. So the entire Democrat strategy revolves around the immigration numbers. And so when you look at the immigration numbers, you'll see that like almost 25% of the babies born in the United States are currently born of foreigners. If you go and you look in California, like 47.1% of the state being born of foreigners. It's getting taken over by Mexico, mostly in southern California. And what they're doing is all this immigration is coming from the same place. So mostly from the same place. So this is a whole bunch of data about where the immigrants are coming from. And so you can see 25% of all the immigrants are from Mexico. Another 25% from South America. I think there's 8 billion people in the world. And there's 1 billion people in North and South America about. So that's 1/8 of the world's population. And they're getting 50% of the immigration. And so what they're doing, the Democrats are sneaky. These people are sneaky. What they're trying to do is they're trying to not enforce the immigration policy, because what they want to do is they want to boost the number of people who are in the United States who can be voters. And 2/3 of the immigrants actually vote for Democrats. And so that's why they're not enforcing their border policy. And then they're trying to say that it's the people stopping it are the white nationalists, and that you're a white nationalist if you try to stop these people. And there's a problem with that. 77% of drug traffickers are U.S. citizens, and the rest are illegal immigrants. And 50% of the federal cases for drug trafficking are against Latinos, most of them from Mexico. All right, so when the Democrats are they're trying to rig the United States Congress by boosting the amount of people that they have in order to allow them to control the United States House. And what they're doing is that my camera battery pack died. Stupid. Hold on, wait a second. I thought I had the battery pack. It'll be just a moment here to swap out the battery. My battery didn't show up. And I thought this one was charged, but I guess I didn't read it right. Apologize about that. Hey, we're an indie broadcast, dude. I never claimed to be rich or famous. I just claimed to be Kale. So what they're not telling you, all right, is that there's a birth rate dip. It's from feminism, because it's like Facebook and Twitter and all these social media companies are trying to convince women to put off having a family so that you can slave for Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and Bill Gates, all these people. And most of them are very liberal. We call them ivory tower liberals because they work up into ivory tower. And so what's going to happen is you're going to see that the birth rate dip here, what this actually ends up doing is it causes the white people's birth numbers to shrink very quickly. But the Latino population their birth rates are also under replacement rate. So the population of the United States is actually completely dependent on the immigration policy. And I'm missing the slide that has it, but it's also happening in Europe too. This is happening. So what does this have to do with the Chinese Communist Party? Let me get back, because this isn't what I'm trying to show you. So what is this propaganda that they're sending us here? This is the reason why they're sending us the propaganda. So China is had they been exploiting the George Floyd death. So what they're doing is they have a propaganda network set up on Facebook. They have Chinese Communist Party controlled companies that are distributing propaganda on Facebook, and they're doing it through ads that they're using to target white feminists. And so that's the biggest demographic. And so who's the next demographic is the Latinos, because they're not enforcing their immigration policy in California. And it's a sanctuary state, and it's causing the now I looked at the demographics, and it's like 31% of the state's Mexican now, and which is nothing wrong with that. I love Mexicans. My dad lived in Mexico. I think they're great people, but like over 50% of the illegal immigrants are from Mexico, and they are trafficking in narcotics. 50% of the federal drug trafficking cases are against illegal immigrants. So we already can see, they're not innocent here. These immigrants aren't innocent. So China has been sending us propaganda that it's anti-racist propaganda, and this is why the universities have been getting in on it. So the universities, the Chinese foreign exchange students pay a lot of money, and the universities have been getting grants in order to push this anti-racist, pro-socialist agenda. And they're rigging Wikipedia. And they're putting all this, they're like making it sound like World War II was because of white supremacy instead of socialism. But if you look up the history of it, it was definitely 100% because of socialism. It was not white supremacy, dude. Like the Americans were the white supremacists, and the English and the Jews were the white supremacists. Was not so, but they want you to think it's the KKK people that are responsible for it. But that's absolutely a lie. It doesn't have any sort of grounding in reality at all. And the Chinese Communist Party has been hitting us with propaganda, anti-police propaganda, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to target all of the fighting age men in the country, which the majority of the country is white. So they target the white males. And what they're doing with this propaganda is they're trying to make the white male go down the social hierarchy and rise the minorities and the women up the social hierarchy, and get the white males addicted to drugs and bring it in from the cartels, which was where the Latinos come in, because they're the Mexican cartels, all the illegal immigrants, not all the legal immigrants. It's like over a quarter of the illegal immigrants are trafficking in narcotics from Mexico, like a lot, right? And 4 out of 5 of them are getting across the border. So we need to build a wall, because that's crazy, because they're killing our people with these narcotics. And so this propaganda that they're sending the CCP is actually sending a lot of this. I call it the Chinese Nazi Party, because they actually technically have a Nazi hierarchy. They are ethno-nationalists, and they do have over 3 million Muslims in concentration camps. The Uyghur Muslims, is that what they're called? So they're ethno-nationalists. They're trying to be the world's superpower, right? And they think the Chinese are the best. And so this, by definition, is Nazism. It's by textbook Nazism. But they're trying to cover this shit up. And they're doing it through propaganda misinformation campaigns. And the CIA's been in on it. I informed them about it too. So the next top news article here: Facebook removes Trump ads containing symbols used by Nazis. This one's from the Times of Israel, and since they are Jewish, it's probably excellent source to use for this specific article. The U.S. President Donald Trump's re-election campaign pushed back against claims that it knowingly used a Nazi symbol in an ad. A series of the campaign's Facebook ads targeted Antifa, a loose coalition of local groups. It's not a loose coalition of local groups. No, they have official hierarchy. They have people on the Facebook who distribute the propaganda. You might want to say they're loose knit, but no, they're not. They have a network of people, just like every other political organization has. Loose knit, a loose coalition of local government of groups that confront the far right, and that Trump and his followers insist is a terrorist group featuring an upside down red triangle. Upside down? Wait a minute. There's a bottom side to a triangle? Is there a bottom side to a square? Which side of the square is the bottom side of the square? How about a circle? Oh, that one doesn't have any sides, huh? How about a pentagram? Is there a bottom side of a pentagram? How about a hexagram? Gotcha. Facebook removed the ads after Anti-Definition League said the triangles closely resembled the badge of Nazis used to identify political prisoners in concentration camps, the Washington Post reported. The president's War Room account, an arm of the re-election campaign, said that the symbol is not in the ADL database of hate imagery. An ADL spokesperson told the Post that the symbol is not in their database because the database does not contain historical Nazi symbols. Instead, it tracks symbols commonly used by a modern extremist and white supremacist in the United States. Wait a minute. See, people don't know anything about history anymore. I've been looking into a lot of World War II history because I'm trying to model the CCP's socialist overthrow agenda with an AI algorithm. And the whole reason why anybody was ever anti-Semitic is like not in existence anymore. The entire reason why people were anti-Semitic is because Karl Marx, who was one of the founders of communism, he was a Jew and he was very racist and he advocated for genocide. And then the Jews took over the Russian Communist Party, and they committed a number of atrocities. They rose to be the 1% because they advocated for Marxism, but their group, being Jewish, they would only share with their in-group. So in the 1930s, the Soviets, when the Russian Jews were still in control, committed a famine against the they committed a famine against the Ukrainians, and let me bring it up here. Where is it? Holodomor? This thing. The Holodomor delivered, this is from Wikipedia, the Holodomor delivered I can't read that, it's in Russian, killed by starvation, was a man-made famine in the Soviet Union in 1932 to 1933 that killed millions of Ukrainians, known as the Terror Famine and Famine Genocide in Ukraine, sometimes referred to as the Great Famine. The Ukraine genocide of 1932 to 33, it was part of a wider Soviet famine of 1932 to 33, which affected the major grain-producing areas of the country. During the Holodomor, millions of inhabitants of Ukraine, the majority of the ethnic Ukrainians, died of starvation in a peacetime catastrophe unprecedented in the history of Ukraine. Since 2006, the Holodomor has been recognized by Ukraine and 15 other countries as a genocide of the Ukrainian people carried out by the Soviet government. And this was when the Russian Jews were in control. And then what happened later, I'm not going to go too much into the world tour. I'll go off on a rabbit trail. Then later on, because Stalin knew that these people helped kill the Ukrainians, so then Stalin then killed the Russian Jews. And so and then this is why Hitler was anti-Semitic. And that's why they killed the Jews, because they weren't trying to kill the Jews at first. At first, they were trying to put the political dissidents in the concentration camps, which they had the red triangle on. But then when they started losing the war, the Jews were in the ghetto. And then when they started losing the war, then they put the Jews in the concentration camps. And the reason why they did that was because the Jews advocated for genocide, and they thought that the Jews were going to commit genocide against the Germans, which does not excuse what they did. It's still horrible. Let's condemn that. That's it. Let us never have that happen again. Jews are great people. Israel's badass. I love Israel. Even though they do have Palestinians in concentration camps, I think those people are cray. And that, if I was them, I'd be like, yo, just put them where I don't know, man. At this point in time, I don't know what to do. I'm going to let them take care of themselves, okay? Because I don't live there and I don't know the full story. So, as it turns out here, I'm just going to summarize this article. These symbols aren't in their hate database, and they just make them up. So whenever they see somebody that they don't like Donald Trump, they say, oh, he's a white nationalist because they want to kick the immigrants out, right? Like, okay, first off, you're assuming that all Latinos like Mexicans because 25% of these people are Mexicans. So if you don't kick it, over 50% of the illegal immigrants are Mexicans. So if you don't kick the Mexicans out, then it biases it towards Mexico. But what's the problem with Mexico is that light-skinned Latinos, like the descendants of conquistadors, they're incredibly racist against dark-skinned American Indians, or Suramindians, Southern American Indians. So the black Latinos and the dark-skinned Latinos don't like the light-skinned Latinos because they're racist. Not all, of course, but so when you're saying it's racist to kick the Latinos out, this is just frankly crazy because that assumes that like every Latino is from the same country and every Latino wants Mexico to take over California, the 6th largest economy in the entire world. You're like, oh, we want Mexico to take over that. You're like, all right, well, how does that help an immigrant from Africa or Brazil? Like Brazil has about the same number of people immigrating here as Canada. People love Brazil. Why aren't the Mexicans immigrating there? Right? It's because we're right next door, right? That's why we need to build a wall and put a moat in it with like sharks and alligators and snakes, and like it's a zoo. And you put like lions and tigers and bears, and put a bunch of polar bears and stuff up there and penguins, and just put it right up down there on the border, and it'll just be like a tourist attraction. It'll bring in money, right? It'll be awesome. So what are these hate symbols? What are these people talking about? Here's the symbols that they use to identify the political dissidents. I feel like a political dissident myself. So they're triangles, and so what do they mean? So they had a different triangle for each one. So it's not just red triangles, and it's not a triangle with a black outline. It's just a triangle. Well, Facebook went crazy because they're run by white feminists and people with H-1B visas because they hired all these diversity outreach people to hire women, Latinos, and Asians to replace the white dudes, and they would never hire the black guys anyways. But then they blame the Republicans, right? And then so the people actually think the Republicans are the people that are not hiring them. But in truth, and the reality of the situation is it actually is a white feminist or a immigrant with an H-1B visa. You got to think Facebook, if they could get their way, would replace everyone with somebody with an H-1B visa. They would. They absolutely would, dude. Like those places are crawling with H-1B visa immigrants. I'm an engineer. I know. I love these people. They're great. They're great to work with. But they've been radicalized. They think the white man's the enemy. And that they've been holding down the wham man because back in the day, before they had electricity, like women would die in childbirth because they didn't have modern medicine, and they lived on less than $1 a day back then, and like everything was oppressive. But for some reason, it's the men's fault because they had a patriarchy, and so women need to put off having a child so that they can slave for Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, Bill Gates, and all of the other ivory tower liberals. And that's going to kill off your genetic line when you do that. So, but you could, if you're a lady, and you're single, you could actually have a husband like me who has a good job, who then I can actually go do the work because, quite frankly, if we're around each other all the time, we're going to just like get divorced. So I'm just going to go hang out at work and hide at work, right? And then you can go hang out with the kids, right? I'll just work a little bit extra. They're like, oh, that's misogynist. Like, dude, come on, man. I'm offering to work extra. Like, how is that misogynist? But I guess everything is hateful. If you think Republicans are racist and that women are underpaid. So what do they think is an ad that is acceptable? So here's the next article here from BuzzFeed News. The Black Lives Matter Foundation raised millions. It's not affiliated with the Black Lives Matter movement. Okay. When Elena Idas searched for Black Lives Matter on GoFundMe, the popular online fundraising platform, she didn't do much to research on the first verified foundation that popped up. First off, that's pretty sloppy journalism. Whenever you start out with like, oh, here's a story. This is how you could tell they're trying to brainwash you. Because they can't just tell you the facts. If they just told you the facts, you would say, this is stupid. Okay? I don't believe anything that you say at all. But what they're saying here, they're saying that this Black Lives Matter, the people who created the Black Lives Matter hashtag, like they're the ones that control Black Lives Matter. Because apparently it's like an official political movement and that like, nobody else can be in the hierarchy but them because they created the hashtag. And then you look at this dude that they froze this guy's funds in his account. The first guy, like he started this thing in 2015. And so his goal is to unite the black community and the police, which sounds great. That's like, so if Black Lives Matter was trying to do that, I would support them. In a heartbeat. That would be great, man. Yeah. But the other people who started the BLM movement, they're trying to do the defund the police. So the one's trying to help bridge the gap and solve the problem. The other one's trying to just cause all kinds of mayhem in these Democrat cities that are having all these crimes and police shootings. So the thing that's crazy about this is it's like, dude, it doesn't matter whether or not you say Black Lives Matter Foundation or Black Lives Matter nonprofit organization. Like if you're giving the money to charity, like it doesn't matter. Like if I'm starting a animal shelter and I say my animal shelter is Green Hill Backwoods Shelter. Okay, I'm legally allowed to name my thing that. I don't have to be connected to the Green Hill Humane Society to do that. Right? So as long as I'm having a animal shelter, nobody cares. I have a right to make a coffee company, or I have a right to have a restaurant that's called McDonald's of Oregon restaurant. Like I can do that. I can make a restaurant that says that. Just like I can say the term Google, that is a copyrighted word. Like how am I able to say Google? If they could prevent you from saying Google, like that, how are we ever going to talk about Google if they could prevent you? I mean, that's a copyrighted term, right? This is the mentality that these people, and BuzzFeed is run by a bunch of idiots, dude. These people are stupid. Like some of the biggest crap on the internet comes from BuzzFeed. So who are these people? Who are you propping up? The Black Lives Matter people here? Are the people from the Capitol Hill occupied or autonomous zone or the occupied protest, because they're like Occupy Wall Street, which doesn't have anything to do with Black Lives Matter. And so this is what their leadership looks like. So this is what they do. Like over there, they got a warlord. Oops. Here is the warlord. Sorry. Apologize about that. Obviously, that I just lost my thing. Well, I lost the warlord video. Don't know exactly what happened to it. This capital. Here's here's some of the. Dang it! I did it again. Here's some of the leaders of the. There's guards. There's security guards. So this is what they want to replace the police with. These guys. They say the police are undertrained. So we got to replace them with these guys, right? Where's this Raz guy? Let's look at him, look for him one more time. So this is the guy, Raz, he was giving out guns out of his trunk. Probably heard about it on the news. This is the warlord of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone. He was filmed giving out weapons to people at Chaz. Here's them trying to lift up some big giant black fist. Because that's what they do in Chaz. Did they ever lift it? I don't think I lifted it. Not even really worth my time to even watch this. Yeah, we lost that one. I'm so sorry. Here's a Portland. Yeah, I lost it, dude. Oh, wait. No, we don't want to go to that one yet. So here's the real, what they're actually trying to do. Okay, I helped start the 2016 Portland anti-Trump protest, which divulged into a Black Lives Matter Antifa riot. And so this is the mentality of the people that are there. It's not about black lives, dude. It's about white feminism. So this is just some guy carrying a flag. Like, for real. Oh my God, it's dramatic. You can't be here with your flag and your MAGA hat. It's so hate. It's a symbol of hate. Trump? What does Trump have? Trump didn't have anything to do with these people getting shot, dude. Oh yeah, exactly. It's not for you. Yeah. Obviously, they came to stir up shit. They want to be on YouTube. Yeah, that's what they think about your country. They'll light your country on fire every single time the Democrats lose. Because that's the status quo now. The status quo is now every single time they don't get their way, they're going to come riot and loot and murder and commit acts of atrocity against you and your family. And this is what they want to replace the police with. This is what they want to do. What the hell are these people on, dude? Oops. Sorry. Well, George Floyd died because he was on a lethal amount of methamphetamine and he had a heart attack. So here's what they think is better than law and order. So they think somehow an orange peel on your nose is going to help you and save you. Here's a video of them tearing down the Portland Autonomous Zone. Thank goodness. And then we lost. Oh, I lost the video of the person getting shot in the hand. Here, bear with me. Let's see. Nah. Lost this, the thing about the person getting shot. They're shooting people up there, that Chaz thing. I think we started to see the video of it, but then it ended up going down. Here, let's just scroll through Twitter, see if we could find any interesting Chaz feeds. Here's Bernie, they're taking down a statue. Taking down statues of, who is this? Albert Pike. I don't know who that is. Boy, they're just culture. See, China is notorious about destroying statues and cultural landmarks. In order to get their way, they absolutely will destroy. If China has their way, they'll destroy your culture. China is part of the reason why all of this rhetoric, all of this stuff is happening with all these ads, like giving you targeted boogeyman propaganda. Yeah. Oops. So with this, I'm going to move over here to the next. Show. Sorry. That was not a smooth transition. I apologize about that. Going to move on here into the next news article here. Turkey is fighting back. Antifa should not have picked the fight that they fought. This next news article from Newsweek. Here, let me fix the... you can't read the thing, dude. I forgot to... Sorry about that. Show's not going so smooth today, but I'm an indie news organization. Hey, if you want to make a donation to the show, because I do need people, I need help. We need funds to pay for people. I'm indie. My website's messed up right now, but you can make a donation at cookingwithkale.org/projects. This show's sponsored by Open Source, my open source cookbooks, because I'm trying to get people to help me. Don't expect them to be done. I'm trying to get help. So if you want to donate, there's a bunch of open source cookbooks you can donate to. Back to the news here. This article from Newsweek. Turkey bombs Iraq, Syria, targeting Kurdish groups. It says trains Antifa. Sorry. Turkey bombed Iraq and Syria, striking Kurdish militia. It is accused of training members of the, it says left wing. It's definitely a far left wing group. There's no questions asked about whether or not that group is about as far left as you can possibly get. The Turkish Defense Ministry released footage on Friday that a F-16 fighter jet taking off and conducting what it said was an operation in Iraq's northern Great Zab region that neutralized 4 members of Kurdistan's Workers' Party. The outlawed group has been locked in a 3-decade cross-border insurgency with Ankara, which has stepped up its campaign against Kurdish forces in Iraq recently. In Syria, Kurdish forces and allied rebel forces bombed Kurdish groups in the Tel Abad countryside of the northern Raqqa province of Syria. Observatory for Human Rights, a UK-based monitor with the ties to the Syrian exiled opposition, reported Wednesday. That's a very long sentence. The mostly Kurdish Syrian Democratic Forces often bear PKK insignia, and Turkey argues the militia is simply a proxy for the underground group. So yeah, this is what is going to happen if you, this is what's going to happen. Like if you start doing terroristic things, and it's going to end up with a situation where you're going to end up with a bunch of really hateful, stupid people coming after you. It's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. It's going to go really bad for you. Sorry. Having computer issues. This computer's too slow to do the show. I have a computer that's fast enough, my laptop, but I did not choose it. Sorry, I'm still looking up the Chaz Raz videos because I don't want to not show those because they were actually, yeah, here it is. Here's the Chaz Raz video. Sorry. Here's the video of the warlord of
Warlord of Chaz giving out weapons to his soldiers here. Wow, what? Hello. Oh, boy, we're just not having good luck today, huh? This is what they want to replace the police with. This is their plan. I don't think they ever had a plan to begin with. Oh, sorry. To them, it's just a party, man. Sorry. Better not try to demonetize my video. It really irritates me that they have bots that scan your videos, and then if somebody you're playing something, somebody's walking by with music, and then they come give you a copyright strike. Like, I'm on the news, buddy. I'm trying to tell a story. So if they try to give me a copyright strike, you can't do that, dude, because I'm trying to tell a story about what's happening with current events. And so I'm legally allowed to use copyrighted content. But got to mute it because I don't want to deal with their bots. Just don't want to deal with it. Not that I don't care whether or not they give me a copyright strike, because I'll fight it. Oh, is he not giving out the guns? He's just walking around with the guns. Oh, this isn't even the video. I'm sorry. I'm still looking for the video also, too, of the woman shot in the hand. Yeah, here it is. Here's the video of the woman being shot in the hand that disappeared earlier. Man, this computer is really slow. I'm sorry. Don't know why it's doing that. It's my computer is actually bogged down. It's like, sorry, I apologize. Just wait for a moment. I got to figure out what is eating up the CPU. I think it's actually the feed lab is. I think it's actually feed lab, because it appears that feed lab has crashed. That's okay. I'm just gonna crash feed lab. So let's see if it works any better. Just hold on here, just one more moment. I'm not gonna occupy too much time with this.